Welcome to Millan Foundation Conversations, where we talk all things community, philanthropy, and connect people together. We hope you enjoy our show.
Welcome to Millan Conversations. I'm Rylan Kean and I work at Millan Enterprises. I'm so excited to be back. I have Sherry Nicholson with YAIPak Outreach, and I have Robert Pasquale with Beacon Rescue. And so we're so excited to have them today. We're going to talk a little bit about both their organizations, but I think more importantly right now, we're going to talk about some of the need that's going on, especially in one part of our country that we had a devastating event, and just talk about the ways that I think our groups are working together, but also what is the impact that we can help facilitate, even more assistance in that area. So we'll kick it off, Sherry, which I know you've been on our podcast before. You've talked a lot about YAIPaks, and we're very involved with you. And I know some of our community still doesn't know you. And I think we're always big promoters and big believers in spreading the word of YAIPak and everything that you have going on. Would you mind just sharing again a little bit about what YAIPak is, anything that you think is critical to the story of what you have going on?
YAIPak is a local 501c3 nonprofit. Our desire is to reach the world by impacting communities. And with that, we have 4 pillars of what we do. We have Project Foster Hope, which is the branch that focuses on children in trauma. And then we have Project Patriot Hope, where we focus on our veterans. We have an extensive program of working with veterans from homelessness to housing and making sure they're off to a good start with wraparound care. We have Project Rebuild Hope that we're going to talk a little bit about today, which is the disaster arm of what we do, caring for our neighbors who have just experienced tragedy and loss. And then we have overall our Be the Hope. In essence, that is what we do for our community. It's those community reaches in different neighborhoods, through our school system, through local government entities and things like that we're doing to reach people that have had some sort of trauma or emergency situation in their life. We're there to care for them, fill the gaps, bring and offer resources and wraparound care.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. We've seen that firsthand, just the impact your organization's had. And one thing I would love to touch on, and I don't know if we've really gone in depth, but before we jump into Beacon, I'd love to just hear what the secret sauce is to getting people involved into this. You have so many volunteers and people that participate. It really is just awe-inspiring. And even just pulling in today, there's probably 20 or 30 people, in your warehouse, maybe more, working right now. Parking lot was full. How do you do that?
We value our volunteers. You have to place value on them because their time is their gift. And so we love on them the best that we can too. We're not just pointing them in this direction to go and fill a box or load this or move this. It's like, how are you today and where are you at in life? So they also are someone that we're looking out for and want to care for. And in valuing their time, we're going to also build those relationships because they feel like they have a friend and a familiar face. They're going to want to come back. But we also share the stories of our impact. If they're hearing what they're doing is making an impact, people want to be a part of that. And so we share those stories, we share those photos, we show them what we're doing, we tell them and explain to them why what they're touching is important and the lives that it's going to go and impact. And people value that. They want to know the what and the why. And so educating that is real important to us around here for our volunteers.
Love that. And that's maybe just a little bit of a note. A big part of what our foundation is about is educating people, right? And there's a lot of need, and there's also a lot of different passions. And we try to provide education to other nonprofits of, hey, here's a way, a method, and it may not work for everyone, but I'd say this is pretty universal. If you want people to be involved, you got to get them to understand the why, see it, do it, feel it, touch it, right? And show appreciation for it.
Absolutely.
And y'all do an amazing job at that.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about Beacon Rescue.
Yeah.
Robert, how did you get started? Tell us that first. Like, where did this come from? And then we'll jump in a little further.
Yeah. So we're a newer 501c3, started this year, but the team is pretty well established. We've worked together for a while through many different disasters, both domestically and internationally. And we decided, we all wanted to continue giving back to different communities that we're part of. And we found the best way to do that is to form our own team, our own nonprofit, and really not only focus on that initial 72-hour kind of window for search and rescue and make sure that the local EOCs and first responders have what they need as far as assistance, but then broaden that out as well for collaborating with other groups and nonprofits like YAIPak and really try to help fill all those niches by finding what is needed where and who might have different either services or skills and marrying those two up to make the biggest impact that we can make.
Yeah. So are you based locally? Tell me about that structure. What does your structure look like?
Yeah, we don't have necessarily like a brick and mortar at this point. I always tell people we're kind of the greater Nashville area. Most of our team is in and around Nashville, either Clarksville, up here we have a few team members, Dixon. I'm, south of Franklin, Tennessee. We have one team member in Charlotte and one in somewhere else in North Carolina, a couple down in Florida still. So we're kind of all encompassing, which makes it kind of easier to deploy to certain areas because usually you have someone pretty close, right? At least you can get there pretty quick.
Yeah.
So,
well, amazing, because I think the need there is, as we've seen over really the past couple years, disaster relief has really become just such a critical need. And, politics aside, there's need, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we can argue about what is going where, but I think the mission of what y'all are trying to accomplish is we're trying to get the things that are needed for people to survive to them as quickly as possible. So I want to ask, we'll start with Sherry first. What are those challenges for natural disasters in general? What are those challenges for your organization?
I think on the initial, within the 24 hours of the storm, everybody's trying to find their bearings and where they're going to fit. And the communications of that. For an organization like myself, they're extremely efficient in deploying and rescuing and saving lives. For us, being able to bring in the goods and the wraparound care after the fact, after that search and recovery and rescue, it's networking. It's making sure that we have the proper communication and the right information so that we know that if we're going to drive 5-10 hours, that once we're on site, we know that our goods are going right where they need to be, and that is into the hands of the people, that it's not sitting and wasting, but it's also not getting lost in the shuffle of unusable goods, which is known as a disaster within a disaster, something like used clothing. It can pile up so fast. And so for us, when we're deploying as a nonprofit, it's making sure that we're stewarding our resources extremely well. We're being very detailed in what we're asking for as to, one, not over ask, but also to see that we have no waste on the backside of the storm and we're not overloading the system with something that they can't use. That's why we're strategic also in that we deploy our generators, our mobile kitchen, our mobile laundry unit. So those kind of things, we can stay on site, stay engaged with the community, and see them start recovering, see them start rebuilding for ever how long we're capable of doing that.
Yeah. But before we move on, talk to me about what does that rebuilding look like for your group? Because you really are involved in, I think, long term. You were in Waverly for over a year, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what? Maybe the question should be, what is the point you're ready to move on to another site and rebuilding is kind of still ongoing, but they're stable?
I think for us, what we've seen as an organization and those that we partner with and communicate with is the requests get less and less. So we sat on the long-term recovery board here for Montgomery County after the tornado hit us December the 9th. And a lot of organizations that their sole purpose is to come in with their funding, like Samaritan's Purse or someone, the Fuller Center, they come in with their own funding and they're able to help buy materials locally or whatever that they need to do and start rebuilding a home. Well, we can do material management if it's local, like what we've been doing, and we can make sure that and partnering with those builders that are doing that, and with caseworkers that are working with insurance company between that gap of the home being destroyed and are they staying in a hotel, or are they getting an apartment, or are they rebuilding, we can meet the needs of those families and help take some of that financial burden off of them. Long term, like Waverly, because they're close enough to us, we were able to make sure that we were still running appliances when people were getting their homes rebuilt. We had donated strategic items that we're able to house here at the warehouse so that when they're ready, we can go get those delivered. We partnered with LG to deliver washers and dryers. With Dawson Springs, because of what we did there and running their distribution site, they know what's happening in Tennessee, and it's extraordinary that Kentucky neighbors are now bringing supplies here that we are able to get into the hands of families there, and that will be appliances, that will be goods as their families are recovering into their homes and things like that. And so long term for us is if we are capable to house it and hold it for them, and the requests come, we're going to give it. But then you start seeing that recovery, the insurance money starts coming, and then the requests don't happen as much.
Yeah, that's amazing. Talk to us about your challenges on the Beacon side, because it sounds like you're probably, incident happens, you're looking to deploy.
Yeah, I know, like Helene, we were there within the first day. And then we had people stage for Milton in Florida. But I would say it boils down to the same thing as communications. When you get there, trying to establish communications, not only with your network and other nonprofits, but we tried really hard. And one of the things I think that makes us a bit different is try to get established with an EOC, right? Because then you're part of a bigger solution to the problem. I think there's so many good-hearted people and groups that just flood the area and look for work, but they're not part of the broader solution. So you end up redoing everybody's work multiple times. So our focus is get in there, try to get established with a local EOC. Miss Sherry was good enough to be able to connect us with one for Helene in Elizabethton, which we worked together really well. And then we were able to see where the need was based on what all their teams were seeing, and then you could put that information out to your broader network as to what is needed from different organizations, and it just links everybody together into that bigger solution.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Robert, talk a little bit about what exactly does your team do in these situations?
So we try to focus on the initial search and rescue when we land. Especially, one of the things we try to gauge is, has it overwhelmed first responders, right? Because like Florida, most of the areas we were seeing, it really wasn't overloading their network of being able to rescue people. And we try not, if it's not overloading them and you're trying to push your way into helping people, sometimes you just kind of get in the way, even though you're trying to do the right thing. But so we try to focus on, are they overwhelmed first? If they're not, then we'll shift focus to where can we be of service. We can go help cut trees, to clear roadways, to get services in and out, just becoming a recon unit for other organizations like YAIPak, where is a need necessary. So those are kind of our main focuses, and every storm is going to be different as to how quickly we shift from one to the other.
Yeah. Well, I think we really just need to talk a little bit about Hurricane Helene and that tragedy that happened. I think no one expected the amount of damage that was going to happen north of Florida.
Yeah.
Florida is very prepared in many ways and used to having big storms come through. And overnight, you saw a region that, in many ways probably has never experienced anything, similar. Let's talk about that a little bit. Maybe we'll start here again. What was the initial calls like?
The first call I got was from our county mayor and said, hey, I have a friend who's a mayor in Carter County and they need you. Can you go? This is what they're looking at, and they don't have water. Everybody was still trying to assess the magnitude of something catastrophic that our nation is not used to seeing. You don't hear about hurricanes hitting mountains. Mm-hmm. And so I said, absolutely, we'll go. And we shifted into gears with what we knew we had on hand so that we could get it there. And the biggest part of that was bringing in the generators. They absolutely needed some way that they could start generating up in areas that had absolutely nothing. The whole infrastructure was destroyed. And so we brought in a load of generators and water filtration systems immediately because there was no water. Everybody's trying to figure out what they're looking at. And so we got there that night, and it was because of Beacon that actually when we travel to something like that, they're able to say, hey, this is a safe road. This is, their intel is extraordinary. So I sing their praises all the time because they are very equipped, and I think Robert's being humble, but I'm like, extremely impressed with what they do, and it keeps us safe. I feel confident, even more so than I used to when we're going in, because you got to know, is that bridge washed out? And you saw that all over. And so they gave me routes and kept eyes on us and made sure that everything was good, and we got the generators in. They used Blackhawks to get those up into the place that and they're still doing that even to today, where our mobile laundry unit is. Helicopters are in and out constantly, still going into the mountains. But for us, it was answer the call for that immediate response of making sure that even first responders who had lost so much, making sure that they had a generator for their own equipment so they could be even more equipped. I tell Beacon, if you ever need us, whatever they need, come to the warehouse and pick it up, because I'm like, you're on the scene first. You know, they're saving lives and pulling them out of water and rescuing them from being stranded in trees, whatever that looks like. Those guys are there. And for our first responders in Carter County and the EMAs there, we wanted to make sure they had what they needed.
Yeah. What was the first 24 hours like?
It was a little chaotic trying to establish what was needed and where, and then still trying to be true to sticking with an EOC, right? Not just run off on our own. It did come back to comms again. I'll bring that up, which I think we will excel at typically. We have a pretty good structure as far as how our communications work. We still have 3 Starlinks out there in communities right now to help support communities. We use Garmin inReach devices to keep comms on our teams once they're out. And we were noticing that even at the EOC level, the teams they were sending out didn't have any communication back. So it took a long time to get information as to what they were seeing. But once we got that information, we were able to kind of plug in better where we were needed, where different supplies were needed, and kind of move on from there.
Yeah. I think the terrain was a big, unique factor
Absolutely.
Here, right? And I'm sure the challenges that we have seen on the news pale in comparison to what it's like there.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what those challenges really are like. What's the reality today even out there?
I mean, I think they're still running supplies. There's still areas that are cut off. The roads are cut off. I'll say within 3 days, we were checking some areas up in the mountains, and I mean, you talk about communities coming together in some of those areas. I mean, they had fixed those roads that were washed out with their own equipment within 3 days. It was pretty powerful to see. But there are some areas that they don't have the equipment to do it, right? So it's either by helicopter or by ATVs or something to get into. I was just talking to someone a minute ago, and they were looking at trying to get more resources for more ATV runs into some of those areas as well. So I think that's the reality, is probably some of those areas are going to take a while. And with winter coming, some of those areas are still prone to landslides, which is one big concern at this point.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about winter too.
Yeah.
And I know you're more focused on that long term. Your initial, and I know you're still probably doing some operations there, but that long term, going into a region that is historically faces a lot of challenges in the winter, even outside of that. And I think we probably should mention these are areas that sometimes poverty is pretty high in too. What do those challenges look like?
You're looking at one of our biggest requests right now that we're working with is for the farmers. Those farmers lost fence, they lost their hay, their feed, some of them lost part of their cattle and livestock. And so hay from other local farmers around other states, we're coordinating some of that. We need 5 heavy haulers right now that can bring in 5 loads of hay. And so I'm orchestrating that with some big trucks right now. We are bringing in more water tanks. We got a truck coming in tomorrow from Ohio, so that we have more water trucks for self-sufficiency. We're seeing the need for still those water filtration systems. Heat is a major deal right now. We are getting calls for heaters and the propane heaters. So Heater Buddy is a real good, safe. I feel confident putting that with a family. Has a safety mechanism. If a child was to tip it over, it automatically cut off. But it can heat a small room. You've got some families, they won't leave and are living in tents because they want to hear about their loved one. And so, and where we're getting ready to deploy to, they're talking about makeshift tents that families are living in, and they've set it up like a small community within itself that they'll have a shower unit, they'll have a medical mobile bus or mobile unit, things like that. And so the request is prepping for winter, getting the cattle what they need so the farmers will survive, getting families what they need for heat, for warm clothing, clean drinking water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The impact is probably generational in some of those areas.
Absolutely.
And I imagine some of those communities are struggling to see what does the future even look like here.
I was talking to some folks, and the older generation, I guess there was a storm in '98 that came through, same thing. And that's what they were saying, basically every 30 years. And so it is generational for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a big impact. And as we all know, there's so many challenges today, and to be whole life uprooted in a matter of minutes for some of these people, the way that the rain and the water rose, it's just unreal. When we look at the future for this region, these are immediate challenges. What do y'all see long term, the impact that's needed in these communities long term?
I think long term, and what we've seen just in the storms that we've done, is that people don't forget and people stay volunteering. People need to stay engaged with this community. Clarksville, our own community, we're going to be okay. Usually 3 months, 6 months after a storm, people are well back to their normal lives. Those that are still living in hotels are still trying to figure life out. For there, and the amount of loss, it is going to take an extremely long time. Mayfield, they still haven't recovered from the tornadoes. Dawson is still recovering from the tornadoes. I just had a gentleman step in yesterday that after our December the 9th tornado is finally moving into his first apartment after living with a friend. For the amount that happened in East Tennessee and Western North Carolina, it is going to be a long time, and we need people to stay engaged, people that are willing to listen to the needs and willing to do something. And right now, what we've seen and what we've experienced with where we are, it has been the everyday person. It's been those retired special forces that are given their skills. It's been the everyday work person that took off work, or that family that said, hey, we've got a family vacation, we're going there to help instead of, somewhere else. And so we can't forget, we need to stay engaged with helping our neighbors recover, whatever that looks like, whether it's putting up fence for those farmers, whether it's helping to tear down and muck out a house, or even to rebuild a house. Whatever that looks like, we need to stay engaged.
Yeah. Robert, maybe tell us what you saw when you were there. You've been on site, and your team's been on site, I guess, a couple weeks now. It's been just a little bit of time. What's something that stood out that you saw, maybe a moment where you saw hope for this group? We can talk about the bad, and there's so much bad there, but I think there's hope. There's a story of hope here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it is the community coming together, and those stories of going into some of these mountain, roads that hadn't been checked on. And I mean, huge culverts just washed away, but they had figured out how just to rebuild their road, and because they all came together, and it was all fixed by the time we got there on day 2 or 3, because that's what they know, right? Like, they're not relying on anyone else. They're just going to go out and fix it because that's the only way they can get in and out to town. So I do think just seeing that community come together and work together in a way that just helps rebuild the entire neighborhood or the community in general.
Yeah.
And I think the more people that stay involved with that, the longer, the quicker that all gets done, for sure.
Yeah. Thousands of people affected, and I'm sure you both probably have long-term projects that you're looking at or initiatives in that area. Is there anything upcoming that has been solidified yet, or is it going to be coming where people can volunteer and help in those situations, or is there programs that people could point to now to go and do something?
I say for us, our laundry unit, we have dedicated to keep on site for those families as long as needed in those makeshift communities. We'll see how fast they're able to recover and either get into an apartment or a new house. We don't know that time frame. That's going to depend on insurance and if they had the insurance and if it's all those things that come with a storm. Until then, we're committed to keep our laundry unit available. We have a team that can deploy with our mobile kitchen, so we're waiting to hear if that's needed in areas. Generators are still a thing. We've heard that some power could be out 4 or 5 months. That's up past Christmas. We are hoping and working with Beacon too, is that we find some dedicated areas that we can bring some toys in for the children and provide a Christmas. We did that in Waverly and it was extraordinary. And we have the capability now to take in toys and make sure some children have some really cool Christmases.
Yeah. That's pretty special. Well, I think, as this episode gets launched and put out there, one of the things we would tell the people that listen to this is if you want to get involved, YAIPak's, I think, is a great place to start. And they may end up at Beacon helping in some way, whether financially or some other method. But I think YAIPak's in many ways can kind of be that clearinghouse. And we've used those words before of hey, I have a specialty, right? Like I'm good at digging wells or whatever that is, and you can matchmake and you have those resources out there. So I'd encourage you, if that is on your heart, and if it's not, I hope it will be soon, to get involved, whether it be financially, which is just as important as those who go and can be on site and do something. But the key takeaway I always tell people in this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Millan Foundation is just to get involved. Right? There's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines, and the more people are involved, the more we rally together. Yep. We solve problems that sometimes the government can't solve for us, right? It takes them a long time to build a road, and they rebuild a road in days. And so, out of disaster, I think does come hope sometimes that we want to continue to see flourish, and the opportunity to see lives rebuilt is something that I want to be a part of, and I hope others want to be a part of that too. And we never wish it to happen to anybody, but it could happen in our back door, and it has. We've had the tornadoes in Clarksville, we've had them in Nashville, and it's a reality that we face today. What is one thing that you would say for our group that's listening as kind of a takeaway for everything that we've talked about today? What's something you would share with our group?
Get involved. Your involvement is what brings the hope. We're talking about hope, but it really is your involvement that brings hope. Those that may be on the sidelines, if you trust an organization, then give to that organization, whether you're given financial support or whether you're coming and volunteering to sort the items or whether you're donating items. Donate based on the lists that are being put out there. They're being put out there because there are people on the ground that are helping to develop that list because they're working within that community. And so give according to that. It will help those that it's going to. It'll help not overload the system. And as it get into the hands of the people that need it, there's hope. They want to know that they're not forgotten. You don't want to feel left alone. And when you've lost family members, just to be present and offer a hug and an ear to listen and let them tell that story also brings an opportunity for healing. And I for YAIPak, as much as I love these guys, I will say our whole desire is that they experience unconditional love. That there is nothing we're expecting except to bring hope to them and support them and help them to recover so that as they heal and as they move forward in their life, They're hugging their babies. They're hugging their families. And God forbid that anything should happen to their neighbors in the next state over. They understand it, and they're going to be able to go and give to their neighbors and support their neighbors. And I have no doubt that if something like that had happened here, they would be here serving and staying with us.
That's right. That's right. Robert?
Yeah, I mean, I think that covered it pretty well. I mean, I'd say the same thing, right? Just get involved. Everybody has a way to get involved, whether it's time, donations or money. There's a way to get involved. And if you do have something to bring or to donate, right, again, find an organization that's involved already and link up with them. Because we do see, even right now, they're having like truckloads of supplies coming in, but with nowhere to go. And so organize with someone that you know, with someone that you trust, like YAIPak, and focus what needs to be focused. And a lot of it, I mean, I'll be honest, just walking through those areas. I mean, we tend to be a team of, you want to do something, but it was such a value to a lot of people just to be able to tell their story. When you knock on a door to see how they were, you'd end up spending 30 minutes just because they wanted someone to talk to and to relay what they lived through. Yeah. And so even as something as simple as that, if you know someone in the area, to reach out and just let them talk. It can be as simple as that to stay involved.
Yeah, it's very isolating, I'm sure, to be in those situations. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I think it's fair to say in this podcast, there's so many different versions of what's happening afterwards, right? But we have two people with us who have been on site, who we trust, who we value, and if that's a concern that's keeping you from being involved, go talk to the people who've been there on site and get the truth. That shouldn't be an excuse from standing on the sidelines is because someone said something, right?
Absolutely.
Go hear from the people who've been on site. We have, I'm not sure if you knew this, but Tanya, one of our vice presidents at Millan Enterprises, her family is from North Carolina in Weaverville, right outside of there. And so she experienced some of that like disconnect immediately. Didn't hear from her dad for, I think well over 24 hours. And that impact is so massive. Yeah. And yes, this one small town with one person or, some family people, to someone that I consider a good friend, who I see the hurt and the pain and the concern, and then seeing other people rally around and say, no, we're going to get together and we're going to solve this problem. It's pretty amazing. So that is the Millan Foundation, really in a nutshell. We're wanting to wrap our hands and arms around organizations, help them be successful in their passions and the delivery of the services that they offer. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, 𝗍𝗫. It's always a pleasure to talk to people who are really just doing amazing things. And the impact, it really, I used the word generational earlier. It's generational. Mm-hmm. The things you're doing today has fruit many, 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 many years later. And we're very thankful to have y'all's hearts that follow a calling that most people don't follow in the level of service y'all do. And so our sincere just thank you for that. And we want to continue to support y'all. We're hoping that if you're listening, you will reach out and you will continue to support organizations like this. If you're not from the Middle Tennessee area, there are other organizations in your area that are doing amazing things like them. And again, if you need help finding them, we'll help you find them. We have classes, we have opportunities for people and nonprofits to get involved, to hear from people like y'all and learn, hey, what is the sauce that makes it work, right? And all the thing. And a lot of times it's communication, right?
Absolutely.
And it's being selfless in times of need. So thank y'all for listening. We'll hope you'll join us next time.
Visit our website to stay up to date with everything going on at MillanFamilyFoundation.org. Thank you for listening to Millan Foundation Conversations. And until next time, do the next kind thing.